Recording. Hello, welcome everybody. Really happy to have you today. It's Sean Carroll and Coach Brian Piranha. And what brings us together is the title, Why Entrepreneurs and Executives Need to Link Business with Their Health to Create a Visionary Outcome. You'll have to pardon my voice. I lost it in Finland when I was chasing Santa Claus with my kids. So I'm gonna feel like I'm shouting at my my computer here. But we'll do the best we can. So I'm really happy that you're here today. And I'm always looking to network with fellow entrepreneurs and like-minded people, especially on LinkedIn. And Sean had popped up across my radar with similar interests and similar type of client base too. And I started reading his mission statement and going into who Sean is and what he's about, and his AIO leadership style, method, and coaching really started resonating with me. And what his tagline is I transform executives into successful CEOs and I help them stay on top. AIO. So we're going to talk about what AIO is. We're going to talk and link in why nutrition, fitness, health, taking care of yourself is vitally important and seen, often not perceived in leading and having energy and being productive. And Sean's going to really dive into what is outlining a powerful leader. So adapt, improvise, overcome is what it is. So without further ado, here's Sean. Talk to us. Who are you, Sean, and what are you about?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Brian. I really appreciate being here, especially with someone that's already achieved your level of success that still has a long way to go. So I appreciate you, brother. You're a rock star.
Yeah.
And in a nutshell, I'm an executive coach and a leadership trainer. Like you said, I transform athletes, veterans, and first responders into successful executive leaders. On a personal level, I'm a happily married husband of 28 years, a father of 2 adult kids. I have a daughter that's 27 and a son that's 22. I also have 4 dogs, or fur babies, as my kids call them.
Yeah.
And I started my professional career back in the Marine Corps, way back in 1994. Great organization to start learning about leadership. After that, I took that experience and I went on to become a lieutenant and a commanding officer with a capital city police department before I retired to become a leadership trainer with the FBI National Academy Associates, which was a really great time. I got to travel the country dealing with some really awesome top level leaders, gave me some great insight. And most recently, I got back into emergency management, where I lead a diverse team of over 140 people with a budget of about 20 billion for our operation. And I've also been an executive coach for leaders for many years. When people ask me about that experience, I say it's kind of ironic that I probably learned the most about what I do from my time being a parent, being a bodyguard, and a football coach, which all seem to have nothing to do with the things that we're talking about. But getting the insights into those groups of people and having spent time with them really informed more. Not so much. I kind of focused on the opposite. It's not like what does it take to be successful, because I think that can fluctuate depending on what market you're in and what your personality is. I try to focus on the opposite, which is how would you fail? Because those are pretty universal, and it makes it much easier to kind of work backwards and reverse engineer success for people. But those experiences have informed me and make me kind of unique and a little bit different, much like you. And when I saw your profile and what you're doing, it's ironic because we're kind of in the same space. We're just in different angles.
Right.
Like you work with pretty much the same type of clientele, just you're focusing more on their physical and mental, affect, and I'm looking at more of the soft skills side of when they actually get to work. So this is a great partnership. I appreciate you having me here, and it's been great to watch you continue to grow, and I look forward to talking with you more here now.
Excellent. So briefly on who I am, I've been coaching for almost 20 years in some form, fashion, in health, nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, behavior change, stress management, time management. All those things come into play when we're talking about someone's health. And oftentimes some of those things like stress management, time management, people aren't grasping like, oh, what should I eat? Yes, critically important. What should I do in the gym? Not as important as the simple thing of let's move more. But some of these other finite things in the background really end up causing a lot of focus there that's often missed. So I'm 40, I have 4 kids. I have 4 cats and 1 dog, so subtly different. I married my high school sweetheart. We travel a lot. We've been to 41 out of the 50 states. That means slept in the state at least one night.
Oh,
And then we're branching out internationally this year. We're blessed to go to London, Costa Rica, and Finland. That's why my voice is a little scratchy. Going above the Arctic Circle, minus 13 degrees. Apparently, I lost it. So I travel a lot, and I have a lot of being a self-employed entrepreneur for the last 10 plus years, just doing this stuff. So, all right, let's jump in and get to some meat and potatoes. What really
sure.
caught my attention, Sean, was AIO. And let's dive into how it's related to business, health, and it's intertwined. So please define, what is AIO leadership to you?
AIO leadership is something that I came up with many, many years ago. I just didn't codify it in the way that I have it now. But again, as the letters stand for, adapt, improvise, and overcome any challenges to success. It's really an overachiever's mantra. But it's something that is valuable, not just in business. And that's ironically what I found so powerful about it is it's applicable to any part of your life. And when one of the things when I was teaching with the FBI that really resonated with me was a concept by a gentleman called Nassim Taleb that I heard, and he coined this term anti-fragile. And the way he explains it is, scientifically speaking, when somebody or something is resilient, that means it's exposed to some type of stress or pressure, and that it bends or whatever, and then it goes back to its original form. What we're talking about here is that's not really accurate, because anti-fragile means that you're exposed to that stress or that pressure and you actually get stronger. Think of going to the gym, right? You go through some pain, you get a bigger muscle. Even sometimes you break a bone, it's stronger where it healed. That's kind of the concept. So I leverage that to help people find a way to use all of those negative things that you have in your past. I refer to them as pieces of coal, right? So if you take a piece of coal and you put a lot of pressure on it, you put a lot of heat on it, that's how you get a diamond, right? And one of the ways that you can get it. So that's kind of the same concept that I work with. And I think that's why, your work really resonated with me, because even though it's explained a little bit differently, you have the same type concept, and ultimately it's just about not having a victim mentality. Listen, man, what life is hard. Everybody starts in different places. I started way, way further back than most people, but I didn't use it as an excuse. And that's really where this comes from, is just that mentality of no matter what happens, no matter what life throws at me, whether it's personal, professional, business, whatever, that I'm ready for it. And there's a whole process to it that I'll break down a little further as we start to talk. But
Yeah,
but enough about me. Tell me, I'm curious as well to learn more about your platform. So give me some. I know the overarching theme of what you do, but maybe you could describe it in a little more detail.
yeah, definitely. So some of the key aspects, that last analogy really makes it really is a great example. So coal can turn into diamond under pressure. And with any of our clients, they are constantly under pressure. There's time, there's focus on what's important, what's those most important tasks. There's a confidence issue of just leading from the front and making sure you truly stand into that position. There's the energy needed to manage all facets. So yes, we have the business side, but you also have a personal life too, and a family most often, and kids. And just like your kids are older. Mine are 14 to 8. So it's subtly different in terms of where we're at, but you've been here and you know what it's like. So there's this, say for me, is a lot of time pressure, because there's, especially in this season right now, we're in Christmas celebrations, there's parties, there's get-togethers, there's 2 birthdays in our family this month, there's Christmas itself, all these things. And we're going to go travel down to Florida and Atlanta too, to go see some pandas before they leave the US and go back to China, because my daughter likes pandas. So there's all this pressure to perform. And it really, if you're not controlled or thinking about it, or thinking one singular aspect of this, it's definitely going to cripple your health, and you're just not going to be as productive, or that coach. Like oftentimes I think for both of us, we see people when they're, and no one comes to me like, Brian, I just want to like be healthy and live long life. No, people come to me. I just got diagnosed with diabetes, or my belt doesn't fit anymore. I have to go buy, get my suit tailored larger. Nobody, no, or just buy new clothes, or I'm falling asleep at 2 p.m. right before my 3 o'clock, business meeting that I need to be prepared for and all. So these are all things that start to show up for people. So these, as far as like what I do, like I'm looking at those aspects of what creates someone as a whole person. That sure, we're going to start with nutrition, we're going to start with fitness, we're going to start with good healthy lifestyle behavior changes, but it's going to transform into managing a lot more of what makes this person just literally better. And I have too many stories about people who have transformed. They've taken that step of moving into the right direction with their health, and all of a sudden they're making bigger deals, they're showing up for people. I had one guy, remember, he walked into a meeting and everyone started looking at him like he was running the show, and he was just like, I'm in the audience. So he's just standing there and people are like, just assumed he was the guy that was doing it all and stuff. So that's where it is. So uh Sean, let's kick it back to you. So what are some common issues you see from coaching clients when they first come to you? I just shared some of the ones that I see that come to me.
Sure. And just to follow up on what you had said, Brian, I really appreciate what you're doing because again, it seems like we're basically just working both sides of a coin from opposite angles, because as you say, if I got somebody that comes to me and they're having those same issues, I don't fix those types of problems.
Right.
That's where I would say, hey, you need to talk to Brian. But on the same token, I hear your first point, which is nobody calls me and says, hey, I just got promoted to CEO, I'd really like to have you come and check out. Right, it's
Right.
either they're frustrated because they are trying to transition,
Right.
or they are in a place that they just feel stuck and they don't know how to get to the next level. Or I do have people that are hyper aware, that do get to the top level and say, all right, they understand once you get there, the hard part is staying there. And that's really where, and for many people, that's where the real hard work begins, is once they finally make it to the top.
Right.
So when I do talk to people, there are a couple things that jump out at me when you ask that question. The first one is what I refer to as a lack of self-awareness. People have blind spots. We all do as human beings. It's human nature, right? We don't want to look at the things that we're doing wrong. We don't want the things that we don't do well. And it's for people that are willing to work through that, which sounds simple, and it is, but it's not easy.
Right.
You'd be
Simple, not
shocked at
easy.
how many people resist, that type of thing, or they're like, well, let's go easy here.
Right.
So, trouble seeing their blind spots, poor self-awareness. I usually get the analogy of a funhouse mirror. Like they have a very distorted sense of how the world sees them. Which is why with a lot of people that I work with, one of the first things I like to do, if when possible, is get a 360 interview. Get interviews from people that work with that person. You have the people that work with you tell me what you're like, because I don't really know that, and it's hard for me to respond to your self-report. For most people, and I get that.
Right. Right.
So, and ultimately, the way I explain it to them is, I call myself a trusted growth and accountability partner. I show you how to get better. It's just like a weightlifting coach or any type of, Olympic coach or a doctor. I can't do the work for you. You have to do it. So that's the first one. The second one is what most people would refer to as imposter syndrome, meaning what got you here won't get you there. The skill set that made you become the boss. So you were the top salesman, and now you're the director of sales. Well, you're not selling anymore. You're running a team of people that sell.
Right.
Totally different skill set. So
Huge.
that's the other one. Again, as I said, people trying to transition, as I did a few times in the last couple of years, leaving one career, going to another, and having a skill set like athletes, cops, firemen, military. They have the skill set that it takes to succeed at the top level. They just don't know how to translate it. And that I've done it personally for myself, for my own success, and I've done it numerous times for others. So it's just putting it in terms that they can understand. And people have a way of receiving it better from someone that's been there and done that. And having said all this, I'm not going to lie to you, Brian. A lot of my wisdom and experience came from failure. I did not learn a lot of these things along the way. A lot of people showed me the wrong way, not intentionally, but just because they didn't know any better either. So that's really where a lot of my work comes in. And ultimately, the last one that I have to mention, because it's becoming increasingly more of an issue, is a lack of trust within their team. And that can be a number of different things, but ultimately they're just not getting the leadership effect, influence on their team that they need to. So those are the biggest things that I have to deal with. But what are your issues that when people come to you?
Yeah.
Is it the same type of stuff?
Yeah, I definitely see this because, entrepreneurs, leaders, when they show up, they're used to being in the front and leading, and so they have lots of responsibilities and blind spots. They just don't see them because they are so hyper focused on these things. So when we start looking under the hood, so to speak, and we start seeing, why are we having health issues? Why is your waistline expanding as much as the profits are in the company? Like, that's nobody wants that. So, so we want to show up with that stature, that not an ego side of thing, but a confidence side of thing, and ultimately trusting in themselves that they're making the right decisions. So when they're constantly piling up on situations of, I'm going one meeting to the next, to the next, to the next, and I skip eating, period, or I'm at a conference and they're bringing around the snack cart, and I'm just going to partake in that too, just like everyone else. Some of those, or I'm going out to a client restaurant and I'm dining them. What do I choose, and how do I make sure that what I choose is not only congruent for me and my goals around what is healthy and important to me, but also, if you're going somewhere, if you're going to Texas and you're ordering a chicken salad at a steakhouse, yeah, there's no congruency there for you. You're missing the boat. So how do we
Yeah,
still
right.
get there, order steak, and then get something that makes it, congruent to whatever that is? So some of those things, or even just feeling that you have to live in the gym or something. Oftentimes it's just start about moving, and movement is such energy, and it gives you focus and power and like life and vitality. So before powerful meetings that you need to show up, let's go move the body and get focus here so that you can confidently talk and display whatever it is that needs to happen. So those are some things that resonate with me with what you said. Now, AIO, let's jump into what this is and how it relates to executive coaching and leadership for you, Sean.
Really, really easy. I use a pretty simple analogy. So as far as the A in the adapt part, I also refer to that as awareness, right? So the easiest analogy to use is one of a car, your car or a truck, right? Check engine light. When something goes wrong, you may not realize it. Your check engine light pops on. So it's just the fact that you have to be aware enough of what the issue is in the first place. And again, when you go back to that comment I made about the funhouse mirror, if you have a distorted sense of self, or you're really just stopping yourself from really looking inwardly, then that's going to be a big issue. So the first one is you have to have awareness. Just be aware of where you're having challenges. And the other thing too is your ego is a good thing, but the ego can very much get in the way. And I'll talk about that in a second, but that's a big variable. It's almost like putting a piece of tape over that check engine light that you can't see. So that's the first one, just having the awareness. The second one is for the I is introspection. That's once you find out, you notice something isn't working right in the system, that's when you can go in there and exactly figure out, like a mechanic would attach that code reader to your vehicle and say, okay, we have to replace module number 5. Okay, I know what that is. And then the last part for the O is objective correction. And I put it there on purpose with that word because it's to be emotionless about it. It's to be analytical. That's really the easiest way to explain it, because people, as we are human, we our emotions get in the way. And I mean, not to get into a psychological discussion, but being liked by others, being part of a group, those are basic, innate, genetically programmed things that are in us that we may not really understand in the greater context sometimes. But it's having the ability to make these corrections and not basically put your ego aside. So the interesting part that I found through the years is there's really one thing that it comes down to. Jim Collins, in his book Good to Great, wrote about it, and he separated all the companies that were good to the ones that really sustained greatness. And I'm way oversimplifying years of work and a lot of writing, but
Right.
he said there's one trait that of the CEO or the top executive in that team or that organization that really was consistent across the board, and that was humility. And that's really what I'm talking about here. Being able to be aware of your blind spots, look introspectively inside, and then apply that objective correction, because that's the biggest challenge for most people. And ironically, the higher up you go, the more powerful you get, the more authority that people get, typically the harder it is for them to do this. And I will tell you this, ego is easily the number one CEO killer of them all. That will end your career faster, and you could spend 3, 4, 5 decades getting to the top and be gone, in a year or less. I've seen it happen way too many times because people can't do this. So I'm sure it's the same for you, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Awareness. I love that check engine light. As I said earlier, people don't come because they're in good health. They usually come because the check engine light has been on, it's been warning them. And finally, at some point, 1 to 10 years later, they decide to go check into it. So, most of my clientele are, late 30s, 40s, 50s, and they've achieved this level of success while sacrificing their body. So they've got the business, they've got the paycheck, they've got the toys and the fancy house and the 401ks or whatever else, the investments, and but their body is lacking. Nothing's more exciting than driving your really nice car and your belly rubs the steering wheel. So so what happens is that there's with that accumulation of focusing on the business and not paying attention to the health, we've got weight gain, we have fatigue, we have brain fog, there's lack of productivity and focus that ultimately costs significantly more than most people even realize. There's actual dollar amounts to this of time cost, energy cost, resource cost of you not being your best and leveraging your health in a way. So the introspection is really about it's time to start dealing with this. So you get the check engine light fixed, you go to the doctor and you get that all handled, and you're like, okay, what's next? Well, we want to get out of our own way. And you, if your car was broken down, you just go to the mechanic, they'll fix it right away. And hence what the coach is for with what you do, with what I do, is we start to not rely on Google and like, hey, what's the best diet? Well, good luck, 10 million answers later. But when you have someone that can go in and see those blind sides and start to create awareness and an introspection of how to actually apply real life solutions to real life problems, then it works, because ultimately, if you go to Google, all diagnoses lead to death one way or another, right? We don't
Yeah, right.
need to add more anxiety and stress about this, where if we start practicing healthier behavior changes and such and applying them into the busyness of your schedule, you get better and your business gets better, and you can actually go home and see your family and show up for them. I have 4 kids, you have 2. They want your time just as much as anything else. And you are already past this, say, quote, prime time of growing and rearing them. I'm in the middle of it. My oldest is 14. My now 13-year-old, he turned 13 yesterday. I am losing time with them quickly, and I need to show up powerfully and connect with them so I create good humans from the get-go. And, even, a decade from now, when I'm in your position, parenting, I don't want all these problems showing up where they're depressed, they're overweight, they aren't productive, they're not bold, they're not taking action, and they're just playing video games in my basement. We don't want that. So then
No.
we go with the last one, is the objective correction, and where you can get out of your own way to just see and apply those specific situations. So if you travel a lot for work, what is your airport routine? Do you take food with you, or what do you pick when you're there? What restaurants are applicable? Do you eat when you land? When is your next time that you're going to be eating with people at like dinner tonight or something? These are all questions that start to need asked and answered if you travel a lot in your life, whether you're flying or driving or whatever. These are things that you're just not even paying attention to. So let's get back. So one of the other things that caught my attention, you have 5 pillars of success. What are those quickly? And let's run through those and how they apply to
Yeah.
our people just living better and doing better, period.
Sure. It's funny because this is one of the few things that I'll admit is not in my wheelhouse. I just feel it's important from a holistic standpoint to mention to
Right.
people because first and foremost, the 5 pillars that I talk about are, and these are the things that I've developed just in my own life for my own success. The first one is physical fitness.
Right.
Which obviously parlays with yours. Because to me, I've lost a ton of people in my family, friends, really young for various reasons. But if there's anything I've learned, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. So that's first and foremost. You got to take care of your body. Then you got to take care of your mind, and there's a lot of easy ways to do that. I know obviously you're an expert on that, but for someone in my position, it's even just being able to meditate. When people talk about that focus, finding what the way the world is with everything buzzing and dinging and bells going off and notifications everywhere, finding that focus. So that's how you do that. And then what I also like to add in there is 3 more of professional expertise. The way I explain this, confidence comes from competence. When you're good at your job, that's how you get confident. Same thing for you. And then the 4th one is personal pursuits, because I think it's important that you have some type of interest outside of your work, outside of your kids, outside of your whatever, whether it's learn how to write poetry, play guitar, paint, whatever it is, something that the way I explain it to people is find something that time slows down for you. Like for me, it might be playing the drums or riding a motorcycle or golfing or whatever. Everybody has their own thing that they just really enjoy. That's the way I explain it, is when time slows down. And the last one is financial knowledge, because if you don't understand the power of money and how to utilize it properly and leverage it, you're just going to be a slave to it, or worse. So those are the 5 things that I talk about very quickly. But what about, I know a lot of these align with what you're doing. How does your program take it to another level?
Yeah, we're the 3 that resonate with me, obviously physical fitness and taking care of your body. Again, movement is energy. You do need to schedule time to move in a day. If you let business run your schedule, it's going to go 24/7. Everyone's going to have demands, and you're never going to be able to refill your energy situation in a sense. So that's super important, is make sure that we are scheduling time. It doesn't have to be these crazy workouts in the gym or hit craziness or whatnot. We're going to look at where you're at physically and start to bridge the gap and work on getting better and better with that time. So from there, what we have next is the mental health. It ties in with a powerful mindset, the way you look at yourself in the mirror and the things that you say to yourself when no one knows what you're saying to yourself. When we have confidence in that in the body, and it's congruent with the mind and the language, that gets a lot of self-doubt out of your life. And ultimately the personal persona of the spirit of who you are as a person, what your underlying drivers are in life. And that's super important. Your why of why you do what you do is critically important. And so we talk about these things and how we can better nutritionally stack the deck so that you're eating healthy and it gives you energy. Yeah, that food gives you energy, not takes it away. And that we have just this functionality around your body, and this you dress to impress in a sense, and you can show. So lead by example is something that's really important. And we got, about 10 more minutes or a little less that we're going to keep going through here. So we didn't want to make this too long. We wanted to make this real nice and tight. So let's talk about lead by example. And then what is your competitive advantage that makes you uniquely yourself?
My competitive advantage, Brian, is not just my background, because I think I have a pretty unique background, as far as being a Marine, military veteran, police officer, athlete, coach, father. I've been through a lot. I've experienced a lot. But really, I think the value that I bring to my clients is the connection that I make with them, and how I show them how to leverage their past experiences, especially their failures and traumas. David Goggins refers to this as the cookie jar, right? Like all those bad things that happen to you and you reach in. And it all comes back from a story when I was first in boot camp and I was put into my first leadership role. I was in charge of this platoon, and we're running and we're running and running. And one day we get to the finish line and we keep going past the finish line. and we were hauling. And I remember looking around, realizing like we didn't know where the finish line was going to be at this point. And finally, I just got to the point where I felt faint. I was going to pass out, and I had a decision to make. It was either basically quit and hand it off to someone else and get out of the way, or keep running and see how it goes, And at that point, I thought I was going to die or something, but I didn't die. But I decided to keep running. And you know what? In that moment, it was what happened in my head was I thought of everybody that ever told me I couldn't be something, every negative experience, every reason why I wasn't supposed to even be there, much less be the leader of that elite organization. And getting through that the way I did has really helped me inform other people on how to take those things that are bad things and use them almost like if you can imagine a locomotive where you're using that coal and shoveling it in to use it as fuel for your engine. So that's really what I think what makes me different from most others.
Right. Some of the advantages that I have that I bring to the table is one is the age. Like I'm over 40 now. Yay. I've had a background of athleticism and trying a lot of different activities and sports that, I've ran a 50-mile race. I've ran Boston. I've done triathlons, CrossFit, lift weights, persevere through 4 kids and all the activities they are. So there's this underlying determination of it, and also being self-employed, right? You and I both, that in and of itself make us unique because there's a discipline that needs to show up every single day. And if you look at the video, both of us are fit. Both of us take care of ourselves. That is one pillar, one component of what pushes us. Yeah, I'm working on my biceps. They're going to take a little bit longer to grow. I spent the better part of my 20s running, bicycling, and swimming, not lifting weights to build. So, and then with the people who are watching this, what makes you you? You got to look at all these pillars that we talked about that intertwine and really bring it home for you. It's just like, okay, there's a reason why you are in the career that you are, that you're doing the things you have developed skill sets. You have pushed through some of this stuff, but blind spots are showing up and you're not maximizing your potential to further your career, further your health. One thing you said earlier, nothing's worse than working hard, and then you're dying or you're spending your fortunes on assisted living and poor health care.
Right.
We don't need that. So, all right. We're going to wrap up with what's 1 or 2 reasons why you see people fail in this, and you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually have 3, if I may. The first one is lack of adaptability. People are just kind of set in their ways. That's the way we've always done things. That's the way I was trained, right? So they're very resistant to change, which is a big deal. You got to have a growth mindset. You got to be able to work through that. Second is you got to be able to create and develop trust with your team. That's a huge one, especially in today's day and age with the lack of communication or the communication breakdown. So many people, especially millennials, and I'm not saying anything against them, but when you put somebody in a room for 4 years, in their formative years, 18, 19, 20, or even in their early 20s, it's hard for them to overcome. So they have to be able to be adaptable and find that level of communication to influence people to get trust. And the last one is ego. That's probably, again, I mentioned that numerous times. And if you can't get out of your own way or even acknowledge that there is a shortcoming, then it's impossible to improve. So it's just having the right mindset. But I'm sure you must deal with the same type stuff in a different way, right? With your clients.
Yeah, totally different. The one thing that really strikes out is the strategic thinking. Really good in business, not when it comes to health. Hey, what are you going to eat today? I have no clue. Did you pack anything? No. Do you even know what you're doing this evening? No. You have no plans. You have no applicable education or application of like a nutrition approach or a plan or how to you run all day being over caffeinated, over scheduled in things that occupy lots of time, but not scheduled in some of the important things like sleep, like exercise, like drinking water, making sure you have some time to go to the bathroom too throughout this. And so we just end up getting so focused. And being a visionary really takes like a sixth sense of being able to understand the whole platform of what it is, of where you are and how to go about it. So focusing on some leadership skills and developments that Sean has to offer, focusing on health and what that actually means is super important. So we got like 2 minutes left, Sean. I appreciate your time with me today talking, and we had more prepared. We're just gonna wrap up here so that I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. Where can we find you, Sean? Where are you hanging out? What's a great place for you to someone can find and reach out to you?
Sure. I'm all over LinkedIn. It's Sean M. Carroll on there. Not the Sean M. Carroll from the University of California or MIT, some super genius guy. I wish I was that smart. Yeah, you'll see me on there or via on email. It's just my initials, sc@aioleadership.com. I'm on all the other platforms as well. Twitter, it's AIO Warrior Coach, Instagram, AIO Leader, and so on. But
Right.
those are the main ones, or at aioleadership.com as well. How about you?
Excellent. Yeah, you're going to find me at brianparana.com. I kept it simple, or at Coach Brian Parana on the socials. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit and all the other ones. So, check us out. If some of the things resonated with you today, reach out to us. We're just open to have a conversation, whether it goes into say, like full go coaching or it's just, hey, you had a question and we give you a really good resource or an answer. Great. We're here to network. And that's why Sean and I are even on here first. We started with a connection. We created a relationship here, a good friendship and a colleague friendship. And I've had a blast talking with you today. So I really appreciate your time. I thank everyone for checking in, tuning in on this, and we will catch you. Maybe we'll do another one and cover
Yeah.
some of our other material that we had. So,
If when I forgot to, I was remiss in mentioning, by the way, I just created a new program for a very small select group of clients called the Leadership Crucible. It's a 10-week intensive one-on-one program where I work with people individually, create a plan for them, not only to succeed, but how to avoid failing. If you want to shoot me an email, it's sc@aioleadership.com. I'd be happy to send you a new report that I just printed this week, and it explains the benefits and how it works and all that. I'm sure you have something similar as well.
yeah, I've got a 12-week momentum program that we start there, or even go 6 months or even a year, depending on where you're at with your goals. So happy to help. We're both happy to help. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.